Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of October. October, wrong month though. March 20th to the 26th, where I take a look at 4 stories that caught my attention and give you my thoughts and my opinion about them. Before we get started on those, I do want to point out that it's possible next week I may not have another video up, though. I mean, some of it is because there's something that might be going on that I might have to deal with, though, so I may not be able to do a video next week. Again, I do not know 100% for sure, though, but that is a possibility, though. But in the meantime, we got 4 stories to cover, including the possibility that Ubisoft could be hosting a certain event, though. We hear reports that CD Projekt Red is working on the next Witcher, whether it's called Witcher 4 or something else, though. Nintendo has updated the Nintendo Switch with a feature that I think a lot of us have been asking for a while since the Switch was announced, and controversy seems to have hit the company Aulx Studio, the ones behind Ori and the Will of the Wisps and Ori and the Blind Forest. If you're interested in where I get my source of information on the stuff, though, links will be in the description down below in this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. But before we get started, I like to do what I like to call the quick My 2 Cent stories that kind of caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details, though. The first one is that it seems to be a report that Dragaea Lost, the mobile game that was published by Nintendo and I think Psy Games, if I'm saying their name correctly, is going to be shutting down that service, though. It certainly is sort of interesting to see when Nintendo decided to bring some of their IPs or some of the games over to the mobile devices, though. But it seems as though, and I kind of agree with some of this assumption that I've heard, is that they seem to be moving away from putting some of their games on mobile devices, even though some stuff like, say, I think Fire Emblem Heroes is still doing very well and all that. So obviously they're moving away from it, which is kind of interesting, and it's sort of interesting to a certain degree. We also learned that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga collection pre-orders are going up live now. This is one I'm definitely looking forward to picking up, though. I am leaning towards getting the Switch version. My hope is that it's basically all the games in one cartridge, not the get the cartridge and you have to download the rest, or God forbid the whole get an empty box with a blank piece of paper kind of situation. But we'll have to wait and see. Over time on that one. We also learned that WB Games has officially confirmed that yes, Hogwarts Legacy is coming to the Nintendo Switch, which is, again, while that's great, it still remains to be seen how this is all going to play out, though. Is it going to be the full game into the cartridge, though? Is it going to be download only? Is it going to be you get the cartridge but you have to download the rest? Is it going to be an empty box with a piece of paper, though? And how about, or is it digital only? And who's developing the game? Is it a port house, though, or is it being developed like in-house, like Aulx Studios and all? So a lot of questions still remain in regards of that title, to be exact. And also, on a side note, there's been some controversy as some people are considering boycotting the game due to J.K. Rowling's comments, though, that are considered to be very controversial, though. I can see why some people may not purchase the game because of J.K. Rowling's comments, though. For me, though, I might take a wait-and-see approach in terms of picking up this game, even the Switch version, to be exact, though. We also learned that Nintendo has responded to the outage with the Wii and the DSi shop, though, as they said that those services are going under maintenance, though. This was in response as many felt like they were shutting down the eShops to the eShops on those areas, though. Right now, it doesn't seem to be the indication at this time, but it wouldn't surprise me over time when they do eventually shut it down. And it kind of brings up the whole issue with the whole storefront and the going fully digital kind of approach. It kind of brings up that whole issue, to be exact. We also learn, and this is kind of a random story and a very odd one, is that apparently a jealous husband was not happy with his wife basically marrying virtual men in the Harvest Moon game and decided to sell his wife's Harvest Moon games. That is kind of interesting and a very odd way, to be exact. I don't know no word if these couples are going to see marriage counsel or not. It's just a bizarre thing, to be exact. We also learned that Sony has acquired Haven Studio, headed by the developer by Jay Raymond, that at the time worked at Ubisoft and then worked at Google Stadia before Stadia decided to shut down their first-party studios, though. The odd thing about this situation is that they haven't really produced a game or anything like that. So it's sort of odd that they hired the studio without having their first game come out or anything like that. Whether you think that's good or bad remains to be seen at this time. We know that they are Sony's pushing towards the live service and really want to put out a lot of live service games. I'm still very iffy about that because we've seen a lot of studios push for live services and how that doesn't always pan out. Look what happened with Gran Turismo 7 and the backlash they got, although supposedly they're fixing some of the problems, though, following some of the backlash. Look what happened to Anthem. Look what happened with Ubisoft with Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Blacklist, if I'm saying the name correctly, and the fallout that emerged, though. So, still iffy about the whole live service kind of approach that Sony is trying to do, but we'll see. Maybe this could be a good investment for them, maybe not. We also learned that Fortnite would be getting a no build mode and that this could be permanent down the road, though, which, again, I'm not a Fortnite person, so I never really got into the series, though, but I don't think there's anything wrong with the idea of offering a no build mode for those who prefer to play the battle royale game more in a traditional way rather than having, build stuff and all that. Some folks like the building stuff, others don't, so it really comes down to preference and taste, though. But in either case, though, it sounds like this could be a permanent feature, and if it's an optional choice, hey, that's fine. You can choose whether you want the whole building mode in Fortnite or not. And last but not least, we've learned that the developers of Stalker 2 are basically, partially of them are going to be recoded to the Czech Republic. For those who are not familiar, the game was developed in Ukraine, though, but due to the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine right now, they had to put the game on hold for the time being to assess with, their employees and families that are being strongly affected by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So it's certainly nice that they are able to relocate to try to get development of this game done, though. It's unclear if it will hit its December 2022 release date, because I do wonder how much, because they had to put the game on hold because of what's going on, it's unclear if they're going to hit that launch date or not. So time will tell if that happens, though, but hopefully the development team and their families are safe and they're able to finish the game, though. Obviously their safety is a major priority and that has to come first, no matter how you look at it, though. Okay, with the quick my 2 cent part now done, we'll now get started with our first story, and this one has to do with Moon Studio, the studio behind Ori and the Will of the Wasp and Ori and the Blind Forest, though. Both are really high-rated games. They were published by Microsoft, though. They're very fun, shall we say, Metroidvania-style type of a games, though. And interesting enough, those games made their way onto other platforms, including the Nintendo Switch, which was very kind of interesting that Microsoft would bring those games over, to be exact. However, it seems as though controversy has kind of emerged with this studio, though, as with a lot of studios that are facing allegation of workplace and would range of that to sexual harassment, which recently Activision Blizzard is facing another lawsuit, to be exact on that one. It seems as though Moon Studios is no exception to this, though. And apparently, former employees have spoken out, with Moon Studio responding to this. In an article, let me get it out, published on Nintendo Life, it reads that, quote, Moon Studio, the Australian developer behind the Ori games, has been labeled as a oppressive place to work in a new report. According to GameBeats, a number of current and former employees behind the scene atmosphere does not match up with the style and tranquility of the game. These issues with the studios alleged stem from the founders from the founders, though. Moon Studios' almost entirely remote and anti-corporate culture has supposedly led to case of casual racism, sexism, and bullying. The founders also alleged to use an open and honest workplace structure to openly criticize the work of employees and would rarely praise work. GameBeat report says the employees are fed up with the inappropriate behavior of the founders, but no one at this stage is filing a lawsuit against Moon Studios or those in charge. Findings also suggest a higher turnover of staff, but the founders alleged used the prestige of games to counter these issues. And in response to it, here's what Moon Studio, the developers or the founders of Moon Studio had to say. Quote, Moon Studio has prospect for 12 years. We've grown and learned so much all these years. We have been privileged to work with many, many great and extremely talented people. We are truly grateful and proud of our team, those who are here today, as well as those who spent time at Moon and have since moved to other ventures. And we are happy to have made a positive difference in their lives. We are not perfect, but we deeply care about our talent and are constantly working hard to improve. If we have ever made anyone feel uncomfortable or let anyone down, we regret that, and we will always strive to do better. Meanwhile, another report seems to indicate that because of this, though, Microsoft, that published both Ori's games, though, have decided to pass on the Moon Studios' next game, though. In an article basically from Game Rant, part of it reads that, quote, it's now been revealed that Microsoft, which served as publisher behind both the Ori games, were already aware of the situation even before it was brought up to the public, though. Moon Studios' decision to switch publishers was never explained before, but now it's been reported that it has something to do with the recent allegations first reported by GameBeats via Twitter. Windows Central journalists confirmed this report right away and adds that both Moon Studios co-founders resorted to personal attack bullying towards the Xbox team, resulting in the end of their partnership with Microsoft. Though this was collaborated by GameBeat journalist Jeff Grubb on a recent episode of GameBeats. Podcast, if I'm saying the name correctly, sorry. Microsoft reportedly is aware of what the situation in Moon Studio is like and decided that Ori and the Will of the Wasp will be the last game that the two companies work on together. As a result, Moon Studio has taken a smaller deal with Take-Two private division, and this was said to hurt the company financially, which in turn affected everyone at the company, though. This latest development has the potential to put Moon Studio even further from vindication. While the co-founders have responded through an official statement and there hasn't been any lawsuit, the recent unionization trend shows there is a greater call for video game companies to move in the right direction, especially given the ever-growing list of abusive work culture within the gaming industry, though. Alright, so for me, though, it's very unfortunate and sad to hear this is happening to this kind of studio, especially with a game that has been critically acclaimed and all, Ori and the Will and the Wasp and Ori and the Blind Forest, though. But it does highlight one of the biggest problems the industry is facing. And we were hearing about this work culture, the abuse, crunch, and all that. This needs to seriously change. This kind of behavior should not continue, though. When you start hearing stories about this, it probably will discourage some people to even consider working in the game industry when you hear this kind of behavior happening. As for unionization and all, well, I believe that the decision ultimately does fall on the employees, and they have to decide whether or not unionization is the right direction to go or not. I would say I am more and more supportive of it, though, especially when you hear this kind of behavior. Like, I certainly am open to, like, for example, the Raven software testers unionizing, especially when you hear stories of how Bobby Kotick and the folks at Activision Blizzard, how they treated their employees and how they handle these scandals and all. So I can see why there's more support, or why more people are more open to the idea of unionization in the gaming industry. And I certainly am not against that, though. Again, I believe it's the employee's decision, and they have to make that choice if that's the direction they truly want to go, though. But regardless of whether they choose to unionize or not, or file a lawsuit, the bottom line is that this kind of behavior needs to change. This needs to stop, though. This cannot continue in any shape and any form. So overall, it's very disappointing to hear what happened, what's going on at Aulx Studios, though. I do hope there is a change at the culture there at some point, but it does highlight that the industry itself needs to change this kind of behavior. This kind of behavior that we're hearing, though, needs to stop, though, because the more this goes on, the more it makes it very difficult for some people to consider buying a game to support the studio, or even basically wanting to work in the industry, considering the horrors of what they hear about how some of the employees are being treated, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2. And this one has to do with a feature that Nintendo has finally added to the Nintendo Switch that a lot of us Nintendo fans have been asking for, and that is folders, or sort of like folders and all. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, now we get started with part 2 of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at what I think a lot of Nintendo fans or a lot of Switch owners have been waiting for a while from Nintendo itself, is Switch folders, or groups that they're calling it, or the closest thing to folders, though. If there's one thing about Nintendo that I've seen over the years, is that as much as I like them, and I do, they do sometimes have a history of dragging their feet on certain things, especially features that a lot of us would like to see on something like the Nintendo Switch, though. One of those has always been folders, as a way to help organize our games, whether they're digital downloads or just organize them in general. This feature has been seen in stuff like the Nintendo 3DS and the Wii U, though, but the fact that it took Nintendo this long, though, is, while annoying, though, it's better late and never, though. And this came with a feature that was part of the new update for the Nintendo Switch. While the other feature also added stuff regarding the Bluetooth, which is sort of adjusting the volume all, the groups or folders is probably the big one that a lot of Nintendo fans have been kind of waiting for. In an article published on Nintendo Life, it reads that, quote, Nintendo has just released a new firmware update for the Switch. It bumps the systems up to version 14.0.0, and while it's not a overly large update, it does add one significant and long request feature. After 5 years, users now have the ability to create groups of software. This is basically the folder update, which means you can organize your library of games in all sort of categories. There's a limit of up to 100 groups with a maximum of 200 titles per group though. So it reads, in terms of what the feature is, this is what they say, quote, you can now create groups of software to help organize your software titles, make groups for different games, genres, developers, or whatever you like to organize by making it easier to find the application you want. Up to 100 groups can be created with a maximum of 200 per title. The button to proceed to the all software screen is displayed only when there are 13 or more software icons on the system though. So, and they showed off a bit of a screenshot and everything like that. And honestly, I'm gonna have to say though, while it was certainly a long time coming though, I'm finally glad Nintendo finally put this feature on. Yes, I will admit though, it would have been nice if they added this one right away when the Switch launched though, and the fact they took a long time though is, I will admit, is certainly annoying though. Nintendo does have a history of dragging their feet on a lot of things. Just like, while it's great that they finally added Bluetooth to the Nintendo Switch though, I really wish that they added Bluetooth to begin with in the first place with the Nintendo Switch though. But, you know what? It's better late than never though. I'm glad that they finally added the folders though. It certainly will help make organizing some games a bit better, especially if you decide to take the all digital approach. It should hopefully help with that in some areas. So that certainly is very nice though. I think another feature that people would still like to see is the theme feature, to be able to change the background on the theme. And while themes to me aren't really as big of a deal as, say, groups or folders to help organize their games though, I could understand why some people would like to see that though, and I think they should at least add themes though, to allow people to adjust the screen on their Nintendo Switch the way they wanted to even adding some nice, music to, like, when you go into the Nintendo eShop. I mean, you do that for the 3DS, you did that for the Wii Shop on the Wii, you did that for the Wii U. Why not have something like that for the Nintendo Switch though? I mean, the Switch has already been a success though. I can't see why you can't add even some of the smallest details like those features. But in either way though, it's nice that they added folders. Yes, better late than never. Yes, Nintendo should have done this sooner though. I don't disagree with that argument though, and nor they drag their feet sometimes though, but it certainly is nice that they finally added folders, even if they go by a different name called groups. So overall, I'm glad Nintendo finally added this feature. It should be great for those who want to organize their games, especially if you take the digital approach, to be exact though. Yeah, like I said, Nintendo's known to drag their feet, and sometimes I do wish they basically do a better job implementing some of these features early though, but as the old saying go, better late than never. I do hope that Nintendo starts adding themes, even though I don't think themes are high on, even though I think folders overtake themes though, I still think it would be a nice feature, especially for those who like to add themes though, to be exact. So great they added folders. Sucks that it took this long for them to add this feature to the Nintendo Switch. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 3, and this one has to do with reports that Witcher 4, or the next Witcher, is in development from CD Projekt Red, and it may run on a different engine, though. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of my 2 cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be talking about a report that came out this week in regards that CD Projekt Red is working on the next Witcher game, or Witcher 4 as some have like to call it. Now, CD Projekt Red has gone from being up into the high place to falling from grace with games like Cyberpunk 2077. They were at the top with basically games like Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, which earned the company some positive reputation, especially with the way they handle certain things like DLCs and all. But the company's reputation has also been hit pretty hard, ranging from reports of how Witcher 3 had to deal with crunch time to the disastrous launch of Cyberpunk 2077, ranging from how poorly the game was optimized, especially on the PS4 and Xbox One, to basically the issue of crunch time and so forth. And the company's reputation was hurt really, really hard on that, to the point that even the CEO had to apologize in the video, and they had to spend so much time doing hot fixes to fix Cyberpunk 2077, which has now raised question about some of the updates they wanted to do, such as some of the expansion passes though, which from what I understand, it sounds like there could be only one, although that could change, to the cancellation of the multiplayer experience that they originally intended for Cyberpunk 2077. And obviously, CD Projekt Red's reputation, they're going to have to work really hard to rebuild that reputation, and it seems that they're trying to do that with the next Witcher game. While there have been several articles posted about the next Witcher game, or Witcher 4, depending on how you want to call it though, it turns out there was a statement released by, or a tweet that was picked up by Wario64, and it reads the following statement: that they found out that they are partnering up with Epic Games and using Unreal Engine 5. The announcement reads that, quote, Today's announcement marks the first official confirmation of a new game in the Witcher series since the release of CD Projekt Red's previous single-player AAA RPG, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, which won a total of 250 Game of Years award and was later expanded upon with the Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine add-on. The teaser image for the new game features a medallion accomplished by the phrase, "A new saga begins." Beyond the initial confirmation of a new saga, the Witcher franchise, no further details such as development timeframe or release date was provided, though. CD Projekt Red also announced that they will be moving to Unreal Engine 5 as part of the multi-year strategic partnership with Epic Games. Since The Witcher 2 Assassination of Kings released in 2011, CD Projekt Red has used their proprietary Red Engine technology to build their games. This new relationship with Epic not only covers not only license but technical development of Unreal Engine 5 as well as potential future versions of Unreal Engine where relevant. Developers from CD Projekt Red will collaborate with those from Epic with the primary goal of being to help tailor the engine for open world experience, beginning with the development of the next game in the Witcher franchise. Though, meanwhile, according to an article from GameSpot, it seems as though the development team is promising no crunch. Though, excuse me, from the article from GameSpot, it reads, quote, "In a tweet, CD Projekt Red's developer announced that he will be working on the next Witcher game in the role of game director. After contributing to both Witcher 3 and the studio's standalone Gwent title as a programmer, Jason Salma, if I'm saying the name correctly, has served as game director on Gwent since late 2018 and will now be taking on the role for the studio's next big AAA game, though. With Selma's tweet and likely the early announcement of the new game most serve as a recruitment tool, the developer later responded to a tweet that brought up the studio's poor track record with crunch in the past. Selma responded, "Never on my watch," promising better conditions for those hired to work on the new title. Obviously, CD Projekt Red has a lot of work cut out for them, though, and they, like I said, they really have to work hard to kind of rebuild that reputation following what happened with Cyberpunk 2077, which really exposed a lot of criticism from them, especially when we learned that Witcher 3 Wild Hunt basically was affected by crunch time, to be exact, though. I'm hoping that's the case. I'm hoping that CD Projekt Red is able to rebuild their reputation, and hopefully this means that the next Witcher game can be exactly as is a very good game, and that we don't have to hear the horrors of crunch time, which is one of the main issues, which is one of the issues that the gaming industry as a whole is facing, though. So I do hope that CD Projekt Red is able to succeed on that. As far as what systems this next Witcher game could be on, though, the most likely candidates are going to be PC, pretty obviously. I'm not surprised by that, and more than likely PS5 and Xbox Series X and S, although it could come out by the time the PS6 or the next Xbox system comes out. As far as the Nintendo Switch goes, though, I'm leaning towards, my position on that is, I'm not going to say yes, but I'm not going to say no, though. I know a lot of people think it's unlikely that it will come to the Nintendo Switch, and to some degree that might be true, though. However, at the same time, I do want to point out that we've seen impossible ports come to the Nintendo Switch, though. Doom Eternal, Wolfenstein 2, The New Colossus, and even Witcher 3 Wild Hunt managed to make its way over to the Nintendo Switch courtesy of Saber Interactive. And supposedly Unreal Engine 5 can work on a lot, even the past generation system, so even the Nintendo Switch as well. So I wouldn't rule out the possibility that the next Witcher game could, and I'm saying could, I'm not saying it will, but could make its way over to the Nintendo Switch, or if Nintendo decides to do a next generation Nintendo Switch, like a Switch 2, which there are rumors going around that the next Switch will implement DLSS that NVIDIA has in some of their chips, though, and recently we've heard that they're hiring people for DLSS for their Tegra chips, though, so it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. That, and we've also heard how basically CD Projekt Red was happy with the sales of Witcher 3 Wild Hunt on the Nintendo Switch, at least according to what CD Projekt Red has said, though. So I won't rule out the possibility that the next Witcher game could come to Nintendo Switch, or Nintendo's next version of the Nintendo Switch, or Nintendo's next system, though. But I'm not going to officially declare, yes, it's going to happen, because we just don't know if it will or will not, though. But I do believe the most likely candidates are PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. So overall, though, it's nice that they're doing the next game in the Witcher series, though. My hope is that they have learned lessons for what happened with Cyberpunk 2077 and what happened with Witcher 3 involving crunch time, though. And CD Projekt Red's going to have to work really hard to rebuild their reputation. This is not going to be easy for them. I'm not going to say it's impossible, though, but they're going to have to really show that they have learned their lessons with what happened with the debacle of a mess, or the way the situation was handled with in regards of Cyberpunk 2077. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final part of our My Two Cent video, and this one has to do with Ubisoft might be preparing a big event. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My Two Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at a rumor that seems to be that Ubisoft could be planning a big event. Now, when it comes to Ubisoft, though, they can be kind of a sort of a hit and miss when it comes to a lot of their games, though. While Ubisoft is known to make some good games, like some of the South Park games, to even, like collaborating with Nintendo doing the Mario plus Rabbids, though, there are times the company has had series of criticisms, ranging from a lot of their games being recycled, like a massive open world, to their obsession with live services, though, to even criticism of some of the work culture at Ubisoft. So, I mean, to some degree, yes, there are times I like Ubisoft, and there are times when I don't like them, to be exact, though. And I'm always kind of cautious about what kind of game that they announce or what they bring over, though. Well, recently there is a report coming out that seems to be that Ubisoft could be working on not only several titles, but could be basically planning sort of a big event, considering that it's unclear with the situation surrounding E3 at this time, though. In an article published by Eurogamer, it reads that, quote, according to a reliable leaker, Tom Henderson, though, who cited several sources with direct knowledge of Ubisoft plans in an article on Xfire, Ubisoft currently has 20 games lined up and ready for some kind of announcement in the near future. Most of these we already know about, including the likes of Assassin's Creed Infinity, Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, and Beyond Good and Evil 2, but a couple have yet to get any official announcement, though. Assassin's Creed Rift has been rumored but not yet confirmed, for instance. There are reports of a third entry in Ubisoft's racing series, The Crew, on the way, currently being referred to as Project... Excuse me. Sorry. I had a sneeze on that. I apologize for that one. Project Orlando. Henderson has also reported a sequel to the 2020 enjoyable Greek mythology theme open world adventure Immortal Phoenix Rising is in pre-production stage, with Ubisoft currently hiring for the title. Perhaps most interesting of all is, however, it's claimed that Ubisoft or one of the Ubisoft studios is currently working on a new Prince of Persia title, separate from Ubisoft's Poon's Troubled Sands of Time remake, which will reportedly be a 2.5D game taking inspiration from Ori. As for when these projects might be formally announced, that currently is unclear. Some games, as The Division Heartland, are expected in the next 12 months, while others similarly much further afield. However, Henderson seems to believe at least some of these may surface in the formidable massive showcase event Ubisoft has in the works. And according to Nintendo, according to My Nintendo, they point out a couple of things, though, that According to this, it says Ubisoft was apparently pleased with the performance of 2020's Immortal Phoenix Rising. Obviously, the sequel's in development, though. The studio's been hiring for talent, though. As for the Prince of Persia game, though, they said that additional details on this title were slim, but I hope to be able to reveal more shortly. Nevertheless, it does seem Ubisoft is actually working on a second Prince of Persia title, though. As far as the Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope, they say, quote, the sequel to Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle was first announced at last year's E3 event in June 2021. Not many additional details have been given about the game, apart from the combat being noticeably different this time around, with the title being a new take on the tactical genre, according to the game's director. It appears the development of Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope is going well and will release within the 2022 window, though. Don't know when that will be released. Maybe holidays, maybe the summer. It's unclear at this time, though. As far as this rumor goes, though, I mean, I will say it's certainly not out of the realm of possibilities. To be exact, though, with the situation with E3 and all, and since it's unclear at this time. There's been some reports I've been hearing E3 may not happen. Some are saying it probably will happen, though. It wouldn't be surprised if Ubisoft decides to hold their own event. We've seen companies like EA host their own event, although there's been reports they may not do that this year, though. As far as some of these games go, outside of Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, though, I want to be excited for some of these titles, but I'm very concerned given the direction Ubisoft has gone, though, with questions like the obsessive of like live services and, you know, the whole make every game be the same and all that. I'm a little bit concerned about this, though. I mean, don't get me wrong, I liked Immortal Phoenix Rising, though. I do hope they do a sequel, and I do hope it comes to the Nintendo Switch. Last time I heard, it did well on the Switch and all that. And the Prince of Persia 2D version, inspired by Ori and Blind Forest and Will of the Wisps, does sound very intriguing, to be exact, though. But then again, I gotta remember this is the same company that, with the situation with Assassin's Creed Infinity, though, the whole situation with that, to a lot of stuff, that baggage that Ubisoft has had. So part of me wants to be excited, but part of me is sort of concerned about how they've handled some of their titles, though. So we'll have to wait and see if this situation, if this rumor turns out to be true or not, though. But overall, I would say I'm sort of mixed on this. I want this rumor to be true. I want some of these titles to be good, though. But given Ubisoft's history and given some of their reputation, though, I have to be a bit cautious about some of these titles. Outside of Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, given Nintendo has a history of, you know, making sure the titles certainly meet the quality, though. I mean, Kingdom Battle certainly met that title, so I have more confidence in that one, though. The other ones, again, I want them to succeed, but time will tell, given, you know, this is Ubisoft we are talking about. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the situation surrounding Moon Studio, though? Do you think this is horrible, to be exact, though? Do you think they've changed or anything like that, though? Does this have any impact of you buying games from Moon Studios going forward? What are your thoughts about the Switch folder, Nintendo adding Switch folders finally, though? Do you think this is long overdue? Are you glad they added folders, or groups as they now call it, though? Are there other features you think Nintendo needs to add to the Nintendo Switch? What are your thoughts about basically the next Witcher, or Witcher 4, however you want to call it, though? Are you happy they're announcing another entry in the Witcher series, though? Do you think that CD Projekt Red has learned their lessons, especially after what happened to Cyberpunk 2077? Or are you approaching with some caution to this title? And last but not least, what are your thoughts about this rumor about this Ubisoft massive event? Do you think this rumor is true? Do you think it's false? Are some of the rumors about games in development, are you looking forward to seeing, though? Do you have high hopes for any of these games, though? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, wish you all a good day then. Bye.